It's time to go!
Hello and welcome everybody to Claude and the Bannisters. Hope you like the new intro. It's still under construction. But yeah, there's a lot more to come. Welcome to our best Arsenal Team 11 tonight. We're going to go through everyone and pick our best 11 players and see what team we can come up with. It could be over any era and any player you want. So first of all, let's welcome our guests tonight. Obviously, we've got Claude. Claude, how you doing, mate?
I'm okay. Introduce the guest for our lovely guest, a star-studded guest tonight. Star-studded.
Unbelievable. First of all, we've got Dan Potts from Same Old Arsenal. How you doing, Dan?
Yeah, good to tell. Thanks. Pleasure to be here, mate. Pleasure to be here speaking to yourself and Claude, and obviously my good old mate, lead judges and good pal, Kenny Ken. So really looking forward to this, mate.
Yeah, it should be a good show. Great show. Lead judges, how you doing, mate? Hope you're good. Hope you're well.
I'm good, thank you very much. You've done well. Saturday night, you know, you'd never normally get me here on a Saturday night. I must admit, right? But unbelievable. Our times have changed, eh? But yeah, I'm all good. Thank you very much.
And obviously we've got the one and only Kenny Ken. How you doing, mate?
I'm very good. I've just been watching Big Match Revisited. For some reason, there was no Arsenal on it. The first game I watched was Spurs versus Man United in 1979, a draw. And the second game I watched was in 1970 when Man United were playing Chelsea with George Best and all that. So were Arsenal very poor during the 70s? I don't know. We think we're about to find out with our 1 to 11.
Let's not worry about that, Kenny. Where's me £100 on the Fury Wilder fight? Hey, where's the £100?
Well, what's happening, right, is that I've got some euros. And so I'm going to give you a quantum of you. So I'm married because we're out of the EU. I was going to give you some Irish old Irish pounds, but they've been using the euro for the last 15 or 16 years. So you're going to have euros instead.
Big up Chadwick. Big up Chadwick in the.
Oh yeah, sorry, the super chat. Chadwick couldn't have had a better panel. My man Kenny Ken and the judge.
Nice to meet you, Chad.
Cheers, Chad. Thank you very much.
By the way, as we've got our guest on tonight, I thought I'd get a pair of the matching glasses. Look, there we go.
The free Ronnies.
Where's your glasses?
Free Ronnies.
Oh mate, I need mine. I've only got sunglasses, mate. I ain't gonna put them on again. It's not bright enough for them, mate.
Right, what we're gonna do?
He wasn't even born in the 70s. There you go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it, mate. I was 1987. I was born, boys. Jesus.
Yeah.
1987.
I'm a baby still, mate. Yeah.
I was 78. Okay. 78. So we've got a good range here. We've got a good range of players that we're going to go through. So the way we're going to do this, I think, Claude, the way you wanted to do it was we're going to do a 4-4-2.
Yeah, and we start with the goalkeeper. Yeah, start with the goalkeeper.
And what we're going to do is we're going to go through and see who everyone picks, and we're going to go with the majority. Is that right?
We'll do one by one, and then we'll ask the people in the comments to put theirs up, and then we'll go on that at the end. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay. Stephen's just give us a super chat. Staying well, guys. Hope you're all. Adam has to be in. Adams has to be in. Well, we'll see that in a minute, Stephen. Right, let's go with that goalkeeper in. Claude, start us off. Goalkeeper.
Well. For me, strangely enough, my Premier League 11, I went my all-time Premier League 11. I went for Petr Cech. But on the,
it's have to be Premier League. Sorry, Stubby. It's have to be Premier League or ever.
No. But I'm just giving you an example. Why people might say, well, how come he's an Arsenal player, but you're going to pick so I'm going to pick Seaman for my all-time Arsenal player because Petr Cech I picked Petr Cech on his Chelsea form. But for me, I'm going to go for David Seaman.
Okay.
So, why I picked Seaman from anyone else is just he made it look simple. Yeah. Even the spectacular saves he made look simple. It made everything look simple. That's why, and his position and everything was different class from any other goalkeeper.
Okay, Dan?
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with Claude. I was a huge Jens Lehmann fan, however, but I'm going to go for David Seaman just for his coordination. I think his right hand to his left foot was just all technically spot on, and I think he did make it look easy. So David Seaman for me, and for me, without a doubt, the best save I've ever seen a goalkeeper make was against Sheffield United in the FA Cup, where he just flicked it with his right hand off the line. And I don't think I've ever going to see a goal saved, a save, as good as that. So for me, David Seaman, 100%.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Lee.
I'm going to go different. I'm going to go George Wood.
Serious. Come on.
No, there's only one, isn't there? There's only one. There's only one goal. I think it's been probably, for me, no one close to him. I don't think Pat Jennings probably come close to him. If I think Claude and Kenny would have seen Pat Jennings, but I don't think he was in his prime. But for me, David Seaman, I don't think there's no argument with that, really.
My old friend, school friend, Charlie Cherolambos, my old school friend, has went for Bob Wilson. Yeah, Bob Wilson was a great keeper.
But
very brave keeper as well.
To be honest, Claude, I don't remember him being in goal. My first goalkeeper that I remember was Jimmy Rimmer.
Yeah.
So whatever year that was. So obviously Bob Wilson, obviously well thought of, in the 71 team, but I can't say Bob Wilson because obviously I never see him play. Only clips of him.
Did you have hair then, Lee? Did you have hair then, mate?
Yeah, he's 71, big long blonde locks. Yeah,
I saw your long locks, your blonde locks, mate. One day that did make me laugh.
So that's 3 people. Kenny, how about yourself, mate?
I'm going to sort of go a bit different. The reason I'm going different is because David, I do admit that David Seaman played was one of the greatest keeper probably we ever had, but he played in very good sides. He played in a very strong side under George Graham, and he had strong sides under Wenger. But when Pat came to us from Spurs, not only was he let go on a free, he played in very, above average sides. And his performances, his standards were very high. And he's the first keeper that I sort of, kind of idolised. So David Seaman's a great goalkeeper. But you look at Pat, he wasn't as big as David Seaman. He still had, but he still managed to narrow his angles. He was still good in the air. He's only about 6 foot. And for me, I just kind of go towards Pat Jennings. And those hands were massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing with Pat Jennings, as a goalkeeper, I've got to agree, all-round goalkeeper, he was the best, one of the best I've ever seen. Probably the best I've ever seen. But I think his best days were at Tottenham.
Yeah, I agree, Claude.
Yeah, probably. But I think he still had maintained his standards when he did come to us. And, he made the kind of position his own because obviously there wasn't that much competition. But I still thought that from about 77 up until about maybe 81, that's when he was playing his best football. And I think after 82, he started to get a bit of injuries, and we had to alternate between George Wood and Johnny Lukic was coming through. So I think maybe 4 years out of the 8 years at the football club, that's when he was playing his best football. But it was just something about, I didn't see any weaknesses. Although he did make a mistake in 82 in the FA Cup third round when Garth Crooks' shot must have lit the ground about 10 times before he went over him. But yeah, I'll let him off for that one.
Yeah. Maybe done it on purpose. Who knows?
Stop it.
I remember that game. That was a disappointment. That game. Do you remember that?
Yeah. FA Cup, wasn't it?
Yeah, third round. Yeah, third round.
Garth Crooks.
For me,
the majority, I think, is going for Seaman. So I think we can stick Seaman on that one. I think.
Definitely Seaman.
The right back. I have a lot of difficulty with this one because I'm going to go for Dixon, although just in front of Lauren. I think Dixon gave just that bit extra defensively. What really mattered for me, but I don't know about what the other boys think.
Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go Dixon as well. One player that does not get enough mention for me when we do these sort of things is Sagner. I think Sagner was a real consistent player for Arsenal when he came to the Emirates, and I think that he was someone that I kind of respected as a Mr. Consistent 7 or 8 out of 10. Lauren I respect because he come from a right midfielder and did replace Lee Dixon, but I think for consistency and for longevity, I've got to go with Lee Dixon because he's been there and won everything there was to win at Arsenal in those early days under George, and I think that he went into the Arsene Wenger era as well and was carried on that consistency. So for me, I'll go Lee Dixon. And I think the thing about Lee Dixon is he was part of that back five that was the best in Europe. So I've got to go for Lee Dixon as well. I'm with Claude.
Yeah, Lee.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because I think that, you know, if he was, say, like if Lee Dixon was a left back, you wouldn't get nowhere near it. You know what I mean? Because of a right back has never been as probably as strong as our left backs, unbelievably. Like, but Viv Anderson was a great right back for us for a few seasons. I say that, like, you know, you know, probably didn't stay there long enough. And Pat Rice, I remember Pat Rice was a top right. And I think if I had to choose between two, it would probably come down to Pat Rice and Lee Dixon. But I think because of what you guys have said, you know, the time that he played here and the trophies that he won, you've got to go Lee Dixon. Was he the best? I think it's arguable, but I'll go for Lee Dixon.
See the Lee with the one with Anderson. I think another one that was a great player, but his best days were at Nottingham Forest for me.
Yeah, you know, and he left us for Man United, so that's always a sticking point. You know, what I mean,
Well, I don't think
if he'd have stayed another couple of years, who knows? But you know, I was disappointed when Viv left for Manchester United because you know he was doing really well for us after the '87 Cup final. But we got Lee Dixon, and you know, so you can't really argue that, like, you know. So it is a difficult one, but for me, you know, I do like a bit of loyalty with players as well when it comes to these sort of things. And Lee Dixon, you can't argue with that.
No, well said, Lee. Kenny.
I've definitely got to go for Lee Dixon. It was very close between like Pat Rice and Viv Anderson was definitely when I was, you know, young in the teens coming up. But Lee Dixon, I think the thing with Lee Dixon is that he improved every season. I mean, we got him from Stoke in '88. It was quite raw, but every season you could see him develop. And even in his late 30s when he was playing for us under Wenger, he improved with age. He just knew the game. Like, you never really see him have a bad game. The only time I actually saw Lee Dixon get the run around was probably Lee Sharp when they beat us 6-2.
Yeah, I remember that.
In the League Cup
in
1990. Apart from that, Lee Dixon always seemed to have a good games against you know, Sharp most of the times and Giggs. So it's Lee Dixon for me, 100%.
No, I totally agree with you guys. For me, Lee Dixon and all. Not only that, he scored some great own goals, didn't he?
That one he lobbed Seaman. That one he lobbed David Seaman. Yeah, unbelievable.
That was brilliant.
That was
Coventry, minute.
Yeah. He also was our penalty taker, wasn't he? He was, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Lee Dixon.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, he was. No, for
That's
me.
Right, yeah.
Early 90s he was, yeah.
Yeah, great player for me, Lee Dixon. So I think we can safely say that Lee Dixon is our right back.
Yeah, Lauren got a few in there, but Lee Dixon just gets the edge on that one. Left back, right? We have been blessed, I think, with left backs.
Yeah.
But for me, the man, and you might all disagree with me, I'm going to go for Kenny Sampson because he was immense. I watched. He could defend, he could attack, he could get tackles without even getting his shorts dirty. He's like absolutely brilliant left back. I don't think I can't go past Kenny Sampson on this one. Although Ashley Cole, yes, running very close, but.
See, for me, Kenny Sampson was before my time, so it's a different era. So I never got to see him. But I think to put it into perspective, was Kenny Sampson the best left back in the world? I don't know. Maybe you boys can answer that. Was Ashley Cole? Yes. And I think that's why he gets the nod over anyone else for me. Mentioned for Nigel Winterburn because in terms of consistency, again, part of that great back line. But Ashley Cole, I know it's hard to say for us because he obviously left us for Chelsea. But I don't think I remember seeing a better left back in the Premier League era. I don't think that I remember seeing a better left back in the world at one stage, taking over from Roberto Carlos. So for me, no question about this one. This was easy for me. Ashley Cole, 100%.
Okay. Lee?
Well, I totally agree with what Claude's saying. We've been blessed with left backs. Sammy Nelson has to get a mention. Nigel Winterburn. Sammy Nelson was the first left back. He was a character when I first came into the team, when I first started watching Arsenal. But I am with Claude on this one. Kenny Sampson for me. I just thought he was absolutely brilliant for us from 1980 when he signed to when he left. He's just, you know, the pitches were muddy and things like that. He'd always come off the pitch clean, no grass and no dirt on him, because he just was, his timing of tackles was fantastic. 70 odd caps for England, which would be over 100 caps nowadays with the internationals they play now. And also got to say that when Dan says he wasn't the best was he the best left back in the world? I believe at the time in the 80s, going from 82 to 86, 87, he was the best left back in the world. You know, he was absolutely brilliant, and we had to do some wheeling and dealing to get him, didn't we? So, but I will say this: if someone turns around to me and says they go for Ashley Cole, and I'm forgetting the way he left us and everything there, I would not argue with that. I don't think it's just pure opinions what you go on with these two. You know, if someone says Ashley Cole, I couldn't argue and defend Kenny Sampson either way. So, but for me, just from a personal opinion, I just think that Kenny, just because he could just defend, could defend and do everything. I just think he was slightly better defender than Ashley Cole. That's my opinion.
Okay, that's fair enough. Kenny?
Thing is, I'll go with everything everyone said. Remember, we've had McNabb, who was a left back in '71. We had Sammy Nelson. We got Kenny Sampson, Javu. You know, a little mention of Winterburn. It's a tie between Kenny Sampson and Ashley Cole, because Kenny Sampson was probably one of the best left backs I've ever seen. Strong in a tackle, and he was a good distributor of the ball, and a great long throw. Remember, guys, but he never made a mistake. I never remember him making a catastrophic error, making a mistake. It was only towards the end, probably where, you know, when he was falling out of George Graham, like Frank's car gave him a bit of a going over when we played Nottingham Forest in 86, 87 season. But apart from that, I don't see him for us. But then Ashley Cole, you can't, you know, talk about, you know, Ashley Cole's contribution. It doesn't matter where he left some football. Football's football. And for me, it's really hard. I have to go for, you know what? I've got to go for Ashley Cole, because Kenny Sampson is my idol. But in terms of like what Ashley Cole, the way his career evolved, not just at Arsenal, but he went to Chelsea and won a lot. I think it's just a little bit going towards Ashley Cole, because I've seen them both play, but Ashley Cole, not as wide as a lot of people in the comments are saying, because they haven't seen Kenny play. But the reason why it's really close, Ashley Cole by a fingernail. That's how good Kenny Sampson was, by the way. That's why I say it's only a fingernail. Okay.
I'm quite surprised and shocked, Claude, you didn't go for Monreal like you did in your thumbnail picture.
No, I never. That was your joke you put on.
For me, Kenny Sampson was, I was a bit too young for that, so I can't really, I mean, obviously I do remember him from my dad and that, and see him play in videos and that, but I didn't really see him live, so I can't really comment on Kenny Sampson. For me, I thought Nigel Winterburn growing up was absolutely phenomenal for me in that back four with Adams and Dixon. So for me, I would have went for Nigel Winterburn. Only for the fact is, two reasons. Ashley Cole was fantastic for us, absolutely brilliant, but he went to Chelsea only for money. And two, on a personal note, I actually see him at WWE wrestling at Wembley Arena when I took my boy, and there was all kids just behind him. He was just in front on the front row, and they was all going up to him asking for his autograph, and he basically turned around and told him to F off. So for me, that just stained his character for me. So that's why I would go Winterburn over Ashley Cole. But that's just personal for me, that is. But I can see why everyone went for Ashley Cole. So we'll have to go with Ashley Cole as a left back, I think, Claude.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go with that. But
that's only because everyone in the comments was putting Cole and all. I mean, you know, so we've got to go with the majority.
Yeah. Because the trouble is, we haven't got enough old school on this chat, have we? They're all young, and I'll just see someone, totally disrespecting Samson, because they're old school, innit? So All right, they're not old school like us, so
it's obviously a tough one. I mean, like Lee said, I said that Kenny Sansom wasn't the best in the world. I was asking a question. I wasn't saying he wasn't because I didn't see him play, so I couldn't say if he was or wasn't the best player, the best in his position in the world. And if he was, it's obviously going to be a tough one. I think the best way to do it is how many caps did they get for England? And when you say who's England's best left back, everyone does say Ashley Cole. So
yeah, but hold on. But you've got to remember, and this is where I disagree with you. When Ashley Cole had all his caps, he didn't have the competition that Kenny had.
Yeah,
And again, Claude, it's before my era, mate. Again, so I'm just it's more questions.
Derek State, West Bromwich Albion. He had Stuart Pearce, Mickey Mills as well. Mickey Mills. So he had some, and he saw that competition.
Exactly. But the competition, that's why you can't really judge on that.
Claude, the thing is, despite the fact that Ashley didn't have the competition that Kenny had, Ashley was still a fantastic left back. You can't deny it. Despite the club, the fact, even though like David Dean was highly responsible for him leaving as well. But for me, it's a bit of a tie between Kenny and Ashley. But you can't just because he went to Chelsea, you can't deny the fact that contribution to
There's no right or wrong.
That is what it is. There ain't a right or wrong. No, it's a tight one.
No, exactly. It's just opinions at the end of the day. It's opinions. So we'll just stick with Ashley Cole on his one. Now, this is a bit of a tricky one now because we've got to name 2 centre halves. So
good luck with that one.
I'm going to go O'Leary and Adams. There's my 2 centre halves.
Oh,
David O'Leary was unfortunately a little bit before my time. I remember watching Arsenal in 92, 93 when we just signed Ian Wright-ish, that sort of era, and David O'Leary had gone. So I'm going to say Tony Adams, and for me, for more reasons than one, Sol Campbell. I thought Tony Adams was unbelievable in terms of his leadership skills. I think Mr. Arsenal says it all, but he could play as well as being a defender. Everyone talks about Tony Adams just being a centre half. He could play as well, and Sol Campbell was just a rock at the back. And he was one of those players that was obviously come to Arsenal from Spurs as well. So for me, that is why them two get the nod: Tony Adams and Sol Campbell.
Okay, Lee.
Yeah, listen, David O'Leary, I think gets a bit of a raw deal. We get sort of put under the radar a bit, but as Claude said, he was a fantastic defender for us. But before his time, he played before his time. If he played now, everybody would go mad about him because he was a ball-playing central defender, playing in a difficult time era with pitches and whatever. But for me, it's got to be Tony Adams. You don't have to. It says what it is. For me, I'm going to go Sol Campbell, and the reason I go Sol Campbell, I've said this on other occasions as well. Dan knows what I'm going to say here, is that when Sol Campbell came into the team, no one used to say, "Oh, don't we miss Tony Adams? Don't we miss Tony Adams?" But every other position in the league, everybody turns around and says, "You know what I mean? Oh, we miss Thierry Henry, we miss Vieira, we miss that." But they don't say it about our best central defender. And that was because Sol Campbell come in and took his place. And so for me, that is the reason why I'll always go Sol Campbell. And because let's not get it right here. Tony Adams was a legend for this club, and to replace him as smoothly as he did means you're one hell of a player. But Martin Keown, people say Martin Keown, another one that was vastly underrated as far as I was concerned.
Yeah, Kenny?
I want to go for Tony Adams. Goes without saying for me, although because he's the greatest defender we ever had. He's the greatest leader we ever had. And the thing you've got to say about Tony is that he came through adversity. Remember, he had the adversity, not just of going to prison, but there was a situation in Euro 88 when England lost all their games. He was criticised. You had the Eeyore chants, remember Eeyore from all the fans from other clubs, and he was widely blamed from that. And to come through that to lead us to the league title, you've got to say he's one of the greatest. But for me, I'm going to go for David O'Leary because of things Lee said as well. He was one of those players. He's definitely ahead of his time. He was a ball-playing centre half because the only player ball-playing centre halves in the 80s was probably Lawrenson, who was at Brighton, then went to Liverpool in 82. Alan Hansen, who were ball-playing players. And I think with David O'Leary, I think the Republic of Ireland didn't appreciate him too much because I think Jackie Charlton treated him badly as well. And he was just like a silk as a man. Another thing, the reason why I'm going for O'Leary as well, is that when George Graham first came to the club, remember Adams was only like 20, 21. Sampson was our captain. Being Sampson, they got the young players coming through. They helped the Roe Castles, the Niall Quinns, the Martin Hayes, the Paul Mersons, and the Paul Davis coming through. And I value that a lot. Not just players who have just got football ability, but leadership qualities as well. So that's why I'm going to go for Tony Adams, self-explanatory, because he was a legend, but the way he came through adversity, and also David O'Leary, the way he was a silk of a defender, and most importantly, he helped the youngsters through when George Graham first came to the football club. So it's O'Leary, it's Adams and O'Leary for me.
Right, so we go.
Okay, for me, obviously, there's only one Tony Adams, one player. Only one player. Sorry, mate.
Deciding vote, yeah.
Yeah.
Deciding vote.
No pressure.
Adams, untouchable anyway. Isn't he? Adams is Arsenal through and through. The one who said he would sign for our club without even looking at the contract and any money. Do you know what I mean? Like Kenny said, he had a bit of a controversy in his life with the going to prison, and he fucked it up for me when I was mascot because he weren't my captain that day. I had to have Paul Davis instead of Tony Adams because he was in bloody prison. But definitely Tony Adams. And for me, there's such a lot of people that you could have picked. David O'Leary, Martin Keown, I thought was immense for us. Such a bulldog of a player. That's what we miss nowadays. Someone that just get in there and just get at players and wind them up, even in the tunnel. I love Martin Keown as a player, but I've got to go with Sol Campbell. Really, without Sol Campbell, I think he was the last really defender that we didn't even buy. We got him on a free, didn't we? So he was the last sort of defender that you can actually say was absolutely strong and immense at the back, who we would love to have back there now. So for me, I would definitely go with Tony Adams and Sol Campbell. Sorry, boys.
That's all right.
So no, take your time. It's all right. We've got, So what we're going? We're going with Adams, and what we're going for the other one? Who are we going to go for? O'Leary or Campbell? What's the vote?
Campbell.
Deciding.
Campbell won it.
I think Campbell won it.
Okay, I'll lose that again, do I? All right. I'll go with I'll tell you what, there are plenty of good ones there. We missed out that were great as well. Peter Simpson was.
We left that bold. We left that
bold.
McClintock bold, yeah.
McClintock.
Willie Young, remember Willie Young?
Simpson.
Willie Young. FA Cup final against what he did to Paul Allen, with the 70-year-old Paul Allen. Yeah.
He would have got sent off for that. He would have got sent off now, wouldn't he?
And he played for Tottenham as well.
Right, the four, but I find it difficult. The midfield now, the four, we're going 4-4-2 here. This is where I find it difficult. I want to fit everyone in, and this is where I have a stumbling block, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put George Armstrong on one wing, and I'm going to put Rocky Rocastle on the other, although that's how I would do it. What about you two? Start with you, Darren.
If we're going left wing and right wing, on the left, I've got to go with Bobby Pires. And then on the right, it's a tough one for me. This really is tough because I didn't like the way he left, but I thought Alexis Sanchez deserved a shout because he was so good for us at the time. How fantastic he was as a kind of one of the best that we'd had, to be fair. But I am going to go for Freddie Ljungberg and it is a bit harsh on Rocky because he was just a little bit before my time, and it's also very harsh on Ray Parlour because I was a massive fan of Ray Parlour. I also looked at talking about Mark Overmars, as I'm a massive fan of him in '98. I thought he was class and one of the best players we had at the time. But I've gone with Pires and Lundberg. Freddie for his red hair in 2001, 2002 was just a fantastic season for him. And I thought he was our best player that year ahead of Henry, Bergkamp and Vieira and all the others. I thought Freddie was superb. So I've got to go for him. And his movement and his link-up play was fantastic. And then, of course, Pires is just a goal machine. And the biggest compliment I can give Robert Pires is the fact that the best left midfielder the Premier League's probably seen is Ryan Giggs in terms of longevity and consistency. But I thought Robert Pires for 2 or 3 seasons was actually better than Ryan Giggs. So that's the biggest compliment I can give him. Won everything there is to win football as well and was part of our invincible side. So Robert Pires and Freddie Lundberg.
Excellent. Okay. Lee.
Excellent.
Yeah, well, I think this is the most difficult one for me. I felt like, because on the right side I could have gone, and on my all-time 11, I did put David Rocastle in. For a couple of seasons. He was just absolutely magnificent, and I mean magnificent. Paul Merson must get a shout for me when he played there. I thought he was different class for a couple of seasons, especially when we won the league in 1991. The beginning of that season, he was unbelievable, scoring lots of goals. But played up front, played wide. But I've changed my mind, and when I look back, I know that he's now a Man United player, or he's in Inter Milan, wherever he is. I thought Alexis Sanchez was just, for 3 seasons, just unbelievable for us, just unbelievable. And he could play up front, could play out wide. So for me, I've changed it and gone for Alexis Sanchez. For 3 seasons, I just thought he was absolutely sensational. And when we talk about teams that weren't great, let's be honest, he wasn't, I don't think he won a bit, but he just made us better than what we really were. So for me, I'm going to go for Sanchez. On the left-hand side, 3, I think that I can really... I'm going to say this now. George Armstrong was just a little bit before my time, and everybody tells my dad actually tells me that when he done his first 11, it was a little. He went, Georgie Armstrong has to get in it. He would say that like that, and he'd say that over Robert Pires. But I didn't see him play that much. So for me, there's Anders Limpard's got to get a shout, and Mark Overmars was sensational for us for that. But for me, Robert Pires was something special for a few years. It was just unbelievable footballer. Scored important goals, always scored against Spurs, and that's why he gets my vote.
Kenny, hey, what do you think, mate?
Well, left-hand side is we've had some really good players over the years. We've had Brian Mould. Let's not forget Brian Mould in the '89 season. We also had Anders Limpard 91 up until '93. Then he fell out with Georgia. We sold him to Everton. We also had Mark Overmars. For 2 years, he was sensational, unplayable, great pace. But I'm going to have to go for Robert Pires. Robert Pires was a flawless footballer. I mean, when you talk about great Arsenal players, there's always 2 players, Bergkamp and Henry. But there was a period between 2001 up until 2004 where it was very difficult to see better football in the Premiership than Robert Pires, especially that season before he done his knee in 2002. I've never seen football like that in my life. I've never seen a player just produce 9 out of 10 performances on a consistent basis. I mean, you look at Bergkamp's goal at Newcastle. Who has the assist? Robert Pires from the left-hand side. Remember Robert Pires' goal against Aston Villa in that season, where when he lobbed Schmeichel of all goalkeepers. Yeah. So left-hand side, I'm definitely going Robert Pires. In terms of right-hand side, Alexis Sanchez is a great shout. He scored loads of goals. He worked his nuts off. Can't deny it. Also, Mark Overmars, I could have put him down the right-hand side because he was at Ajax when he first came to side, when he destroyed Des Walker. He was playing down the right. Rocky, it's not for sentimental reasons. It's because I have a very much of an affiliation with George Graham's first side, because that's, for me, I've got an emotional tie to that side, because certain reasons that they made me believe in Arsenal before Liverpool winning everything, and that Arsenal would just dare to make up the numbers. But that team that George Graham had put the fire back into Arsenal Football Club, and the player most responsible for that was David Rocastle, 86-87. Not just his goal against Spurs, his performances, 87-88, great performances. And then when we won the leagues, just before 91, for 4 years, between 87 and 91, Jamie Rocastle was playing his best football before the knee injury. So for me, on footballing ability, it's close between Sanchez and Rocky. Rocky, but I'm just going to have to go for Rocky
Yeah.
on the right hand side.
Good choice.
So we're going to. So it
me-
looks like. Oh, sorry, Terry.
You cutting me off? Don't you like me or what?
No, Terry, I'm sorry. I thought you'd already got. Sorry, mate. I'm getting
That's
confused.
right, mate. It's not a problem, mate. For me, Rocky was more of a centre midfielder. I liked him in that role. So I'm not counting him on the wings. I'm counting him in the centre midfield. But like everyone said, for me, on the left wing, we've been blessed with players on the left wing. But you can't beat Robert Pires for me. He was fantastic. Like the goals you just said, Kenny, absolutely brilliant. That season, I think he was, apart from Henry and Bergkamp, I think he was the third with a lot of goals in. You'd be surprised how many goals he scored that season. He just scored for fun in Tottenham and all, which is what Lee said. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable. So for me, it's got to be Robert Pires on the left. And on the right, I mean, when I was mascot, my favourite player who I had pictures with was Limpard. So I've got to give him a shout out, even though I haven't picked him. He was fantastic. But I've got to go with Ray Parlour on the right wing. I just think his work rate and what he gave to the team, he gave everything for Arsenal. He was just fantastic on that right wing for us. So I've got to go with Ray Parlour. We've got a super chat here from Kev. Thank you for your donation, mate. He's put, what did you think of Arshavin? He never really gets talked about now. Claude.
I don't think he was played in his proper position when he came here. I shoved him for me a number 10, and we already had Van Persie there as well. So I thought what Wenger done just to play him, he played him wide, and I don't think it suited him. That's my opinion. But
His fitness was a problem as well, Claude, because you noticed that when you did watch him, he always had his hands on his knees. I don't think he properly got himself fit for this game. I don't know if it was diet or application, but if he got himself fit for our league, he'd have been unplayable.
I don't think he worked hard enough, in my opinion. I think Arshavin, he didn't quite work hard enough for me. If you look at what Sanchez was doing in terms of his tenacity and how fit he was and how he was back and forward, Arshavin being put on that wing, I didn't like it personally. I thought he was an all right player. I always remember him for Anfield scoring those 4 goals. But for me, I don't think... and the Barcelona winner at home was a great night. But I don't think he can be put in the best 11 for me, Arshavin, now.
So... Okay, so what we're going with Robert Pires. He's got on the left, yeah. And are we going with Rocastle on the right? Are we?
Yeah, I think Rocastle's got the vote from. I think me, Dan, and Terry all went one different player each, didn't we?
Yeah. So I went Rocastle
on the right.
I think both of you went for Rocastle, so he gets it on the right, then Rocastle on the right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go very attacking, and Kenny's going to slaughter me here. I'm going to go Vieira and Brady. I'm going to go Vieira and Brady in the middle.
Who are you going, sorry, with Claude?
I'm going to go Vieira and Brady in the middle.
Okay.
Middle of them two, yeah. And then...
Good lineup. Dan, what are you going for, mate?
This is going to be even more controversial than Claude now, because I'm going to go for a diamond and go for a Vieira holding with Bergkamp as a number 10 so that I can fit 2 strikers up front. So I'm going to go with Patrick Vieira as a definite, 100%. And if you're going to tell me I can't have a number 10, then I'll have to choose another player, and leave one of the strikers out. But I'm going to go with Bergkamp as a number 10. So, yeah, Vieira, 100%. I thought he was, when he took over from Adams, I think he had everything as a footballer. I think he was brilliant with his strength, had presence there. And listen, he left in 2005 and we've still not replaced him, boys. So for me, Patrick Vieira walks into anyone's Arsenal 11. I don't think there'll be any Arsenal fan that could put their hand on heart and say that they would leave Patrick Vieira out. And I think that he was one of those players that would get into any team in the sort of, say, 2000 to 2005. I think he would have walked into any team in the world. So we talk about players and 1 to 11s in this. I think he would have got into a world 11 in most players and obviously won everything for France as well as at Arsenal. So Patrick Vieira, Dennis Bergkamp. Listen, I don't think there's a player that has wore the shirt that's as good as him. So, yeah, Dennis Bergkamp. I'll come back to him in a bit because I'm sure people will mention him. But, yeah, Patrick Vieira and Dennis Bergkamp in a diamond for me.
Okay, we just got a quick super chat from Chadwick. Claude secretly wanted to say Fabregas.
Never in a million years. I don't know. I don't.
Go on,
No. Not in the same league of these players. I'm sorry. Anyway, carry on. You want to put Fabregas with Brady? You must be fucking. You must be joking. You must be joking.
Lee, what's yours?
For me, well, Vieira says it. He just says it all. Vieira comes in there. I think when we all go through the 11 that you have, Vieira will get everybody's mention, like Tony Adams. There'll be the only two with Bergkamp and Henry. They're the ones that are going to get mentioned all the time, and rightly so. Vieira walks into any team genuinely world class. You know what I mean? And we still have not. I miss him to this day now. He's still getting to our team now. Play at 40, whatever he is of age, he is just absolutely awesome. I'm with Claude. Listen, when I was growing up, Liam Brady was the absolute player. I've been watching some old clips of him lately. When you talk about best 11s, he has got to be up there. And do you know what? I'm surprised today, Claude. That I'm all sort of renowned for him wearing a number 7 shirt, but he wore the number 8 quite a lot of times. I always sort of associate him with the number 7 shirt, but he wore number 8 when he played alongside Alan Ball. It was just wand of a left foot, quality player. The best, and I know, like Claude probably may disagree with me, but the next best thing coming up past him was for me, Cesc Fabregas. I felt like when he was a kid coming through. Like Brady was a youngster coming through, was absolutely outstanding. And Fabregas come along and done things that were sensational as well. We had some fantastic midfield players that have never really. Steve Williams was one of my favourite midfield players.
Yeah,
going that
what I will say, Lee, Brady produced it in Europe, in Italy as well. Fabregas could not produce it in Spain for Barcelona.
In my opinion, and this is only my opinion, that Patrick Vieira and Liam Brady are a different level to every other player that's played in Arsenal midfield. You can have your favourite midfield players, and we've had some brilliant midfield players. When you go back. You can go back into the. I don't remember it. My dad always goes and says, if you wanted an enforcer in your team, you wanted someone in the team, and go back to Stoke semi-final in '71 with a last-minute penalty. Peter Storey, was an absolute beast of a player. Claude might remember him as well. Paul Davis was a great player that was much maligned when he first came into the side and turned it around. But for me, I can't not go. Vieira and Brady, got to be them two.
Okay. Do you know what? I know what you're gonna. You know what? Another thing, right? If you wanted, mine is a bit too attacking, yeah. But what you could do to make it less, more balanced, is switch Brady to the right and Rocky in the middle, yeah. And that would, because Rocky was, he could tackle as well, couldn't he? So
they could swap over anyway, couldn't they? Yeah, they could swap over.
You could do it that way. You could actually rotate them too.
Yeah, exactly. So, this team we've picked now will never lose a game.
That's why I would pick that 4, and that those 2 in the middle, and then we'll look at the 2 up front. Where are we going on this? Have we? Oh, so Terry, you got your say.
No, Kenny's got to do it. Kenny's got to do it.
Sorry, mate. Sorry.
Right, I'm going to go because of the way I like football being played. Obviously, I like a bit of silk, but I like some steel. So my midfield is Vieira and Petit. They're the best midfield pairing I've ever seen at Arsenal Football Club, and probably in the Premiership. It's faultless. From 97 onto like late 99, there wasn't a better midfield pairing. Patrick Vieira had legs like an octopus. If you wanted to play dirty, he'll play dirty with you, and so is Petit. If you want to play football, we could play football. If you want to play long ball, we could deal with that. And a lot of that was because we had those two. Obviously, when they first came to the football club, Tony Adams had to have a word with them because we were losing, a bit of momentum to Man United in 97, 98. When we had that thrashing from Blackburn, and then Tony Adams took over and said, look, he wanted our midfield to give our defenders a lot of protection. From then on, they were flawless, absolutely flawless. And they went on to win the World Cup with France as well. If anyone could tell me a better midfield pairing in Premiership history than Vieira Petit, I'll shake their hand, we collect the neck, and I'll buy them dinner.
Hold on, Kenny. Wasn't Vieira and Gilberto a better partnership? I thought.
No. Vieira Petit. Vieira Petit were the best thing to. Gilberto was a fantastic player in his own right, but as a partnership, Vieira Petit. When one went on attack, went help attack, one stayed. They alternated. They know both. Petit was very good passer of the ball, long passer, short passer, great with a tackle, and he had leadership, strong as an ox. Vieira could shoot from 30 yards. Like I said, good tooth, good feet, can beat his man as well, which people don't realise. And he can turn defence and attack with just one stride. And that's why, for me, you've got to go with those two. There isn't a midfield pairing better than them.
I totally agree with you, Ken. Just quickly, before I say mine, thank you very much, Zane. Zane said, Lee, will you get Kevin Campbell on Claude's channel?
I'm sure he'll come on like that. I mean, if Claude, Claude can be very miserable, Claude. I don't know if anybody knows that. It can be very miserable. Like
No.
You have to be cheery.
I spoke to Kevin, but he said he will come on, and I suppose he's got plenty more time on his hand at the moment, so I will get him on. Yeah, definitely. I will get him on.
Sorry, mate. Tell, before you say that, can I just say, I in terms of what Kenny said there, just going back that quick, I think as a pairing with Vieira and Petit, I think he's spot on. But I take what Claude's saying about Gilberto, because I think Gilberto as a footballer had a lot more about him than Petit did. And I'm not dismissing Vieira and Petit as a partnership, because I totally think Kenny's spot on with what he said. I think Gilberto Silva is very underrated, and probably one of the most underrated players that Arsenal have had, in my opinion. I think that when he was out the team, you really missed him. And people say, what did Gilberto do? If you watch a game of football, you might not see it. If you watch a game of football but watch Gilberto Silva, you'll understand a game of football. Trust me, what that boy did was so underrated in that Arsenal side for those years. I agree with Claude. I thought he was top draw. And if I had to pick a player that wasn't Bergkamp in the number 10 and Vieira holding, it would have been Gilberto alongside, just because I think in terms of a best 11, in terms of football 11, I would have gone for Gilberto just ahead of Petit. So I just wanted to put that in there.
The reason I haven't picked them two, and I agree with you, is because I can't leave Lee and Brady out.
No, exactly.
I respect that. Fully respect that.
Before my time.
No, it's just like, it's as everyone knows. I'm a very me and Terry have had rows before about this. Is that I'm a very pragmatic. I think a good football match is a 0-0, because, like I said, everything's flawless. Because the thing with me is that
I won't want to go to drink with you.
The reason why I say it is because that means there's been no defensive mistakes. People have been doing their jobs properly. The goalkeeper hasn't had much to do, which means the defence have been doing their jobs properly, which means the midfield have been, like I said, given the protection. For me, the best European Cup final in recent times was, AC Milan Juventus, that 0-0, because I thought I saw some good football there, because I saw no mistakes. If I see a football match where it's a 5-4, it spoils my day. I can't stand bad defending. It really upsets me.
I will get to my two midfielders in a minute, but Sane's got another super chat. Thanks for your donation, mate. He's put, guys, do you think Arsenal could drop in value because of what's happening, and the rich Nigerian can buy us then? What do you think of that, Lee?
No. There's no reason for Kroenke to sell, is there? He's not going to sell. Why would he sell? There's no reason for him to sell. He's making money left, right, and centre. No reason for him to sell.
Let's not go into that.
Kenny,
let's remember, everyone goes on about this Nigerian guy. He might be the same as Kroenke. He could come in and do exactly the same. So let's not get into that anyway. Let's be happy about things.
Claude, that comment about me went right over your head. You know that.
Someone said in the chat there, and it's dead right, that Edu was probably the most underrated player that I've ever seen. He was an absolute superb player for Arsenal. Brilliant.
Yeah, I like Edu.
Oh, there are loads of players you could get in. I mean, there's loads of players. I mean, Edu was another top player. I mean,
He was another great player.
Yeah.
Zola, yeah, exactly. Freddie Lundberg. I mean, they're all great players. They're all, you can't fit everyone. It's only,
No, you can't.
Exactly.
We're going to leave out one of our best ever strikers in a minute. I'll tell you that, you know.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. You lot are, but I'm not.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Right, my two, I was going to go, obviously, Vieira. There's no two questions about that. One of the best captains, well, apart from Tony Adams, he's one of the best captains that we had. Like Kenny said, his legs were absolutely everywhere, and he absolutely loved playing against Tottenham. And I loved it. I got up so up for them games when you had Vieira, Adams, Omri, just missed that team altogether. And obviously, I was going to go with Rocky Roadcastle in the middle next to Vieira. That's who I would have went with as my midfield pairing. But obviously, we've got him on the right. So apart from that, then I've got to go with Petit, like Kenny Ken said. I just think
controversial, Till. Controversial.
I just think as a pairing, the understanding they had with each other was unbelievable. They knew where each other were. I mean, a bit like we're going to talk about, obviously, Bergkamp in a minute. Obviously, we're going to talk about him. Is that them two knew if one was going to run and go on if one was going to go on the attack, the other one would drop back instantly and know to do that. Do you know what I mean? And vice versa. And I just think, going ahead with it, they've done it with France, they've done it with Arsenal, both, together. So you've got to give it to them two, in my eyes. But obviously,
it is hard to argue with that.
So we've got.
We were tied, though, weren't we? We're tied. We've got 2 for Brady, 2 for Petit. So how are we going to do that?
I've got back in defensively and Brady. He had more years than Petit. You know what I mean? Petit was great.
We got to somehow
but
not in the same class as Liam Brady as a footballer.
I hear what you're saying, but Dave, you're talking about a team that functions. You know what I mean?
Sorry, I'm going to Brady.
We're not going. Hold on a minute. It's not a team that functions. It's the best players.
Yeah.
You still got
that now. Liam Brady is a better player than Petit.
100%. But as a pairing, if we go as a pairing,
but we're not going as a pairing. We're the best 11.
We are though. Yeah, best 11. Petit and Vieira.
Are we going to decide? Are we going to decide this, Dentel? How are we going to decide this?
I'll tell you how I'm going to decide it. I'll tell you how I'm going to decide it. Petit went and played with Chelsea, so I'm going to go to Brady. We're going to go to Brady.
I thought we had 3 for
Hey?
I thought we had 3 for
Hold on. We've got 4-4-2, haven't we?
Yeah. So I thought me, Dan, and Kenny went for Petit in here.
Bergkamp wasted his vote.
I went for number 10, so I bottled it. But if I would have gone for a midfielder, then I would have gone for Gilberto ahead of Petit. I can't pick Liam Brady because he was before my era, so we're going to have to.
Hang on, I've got an idea. Right,
we're not watching paint dry. We're not watching it. We're not doing it.
I know what's it. But anyway, I've got a quick. I'm going to have a quiz question. Right, it's going to be between. Only person who's going to be in between is Terry and Lee Judges. All right. And it's going to be a fair question, right? The first to get the question right. Right. The question is, and it's not an Arsenal related, it's general knowledge. All right.
He's been looking at my quiz, hasn't you, Kenny? He's been looking at my quiz, hasn't he, mate?
I have been looking at your quiz. Who won the FA Cup in 1970?
Tottenham. No, 61 that was, wasn't it? 1970.
I know that one. I know it.
Hold on.
Right. It's Lee and Terry. Lee and Terry.
70.
Do you know what? It's definitely Arsenal won it in 71. So
Ipswich.
No. They've only won it once. That was against us.
Leeds.
Was it Leeds? Leeds.
No,
I don't think it was Everton.
You're both wrong. It was David Webb, Chelsea.
Oh yeah, Old Trafford, wasn't it? They beat Leeds.
All right. One more question. Right.
I don't like Leeds. I don't like Chelsea.
All right. The questions I'm going to ask you: out of Leeds and Spurs, who's won the most European trophies? Out of Leeds and Spurs.
Leeds.
I'm afraid we're going to have to put Liam Brady as the midfielder because Lee won the question.
I'm sorry.
Spurs empty set.
Sorry. Oh, weird in shame. Sorry.
Right.
I'm afraid I haven't got him already, so we're going to have to miss his portfolio at the moment. But we've got a super chat quickly before we move on from saying again, guys. Why do you think Petit failed at Barcelona? Dan, why do you think he failed?
Listen, it's hard sometimes to change from league to league, isn't it? Sometimes it doesn't suit it, and I think that's what's happened with Petit. When he come back to the Premier League, though, Petit, it didn't really do the same, in my opinion. He kind of finished, really.
Yeah.
Few injuries as well. I think injuries let him down, and that affected his career. So for me, he'll always be a great player at Arsenal, but since he left the Arsenal, never really got back into his best. So that, for me, was what reasons why, in terms of his injuries, and just didn't suit his style in the Liga.
When he originally left back at first?
Yeah, he played as centre half. Don't forget, he came to us when he was about 27, 28. So I think he left us when he was 30. He had a bad knee injury. He was on his way out, if you like, not being in horrible terms. We got the best out of him for those couple of years, without a doubt.
But Stan Man makes a good point in the comments, actually. There, look, Petty failed at Barca because he didn't have Vieira next. Maybe we were.
Yeah.
Next to him, that's a great point.
Vieira would look 10 times better than what they really were.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, what we're going to go on to. So it's the forwards now. I had a little bit of a. Everyone is going to go for the obvious, but I'm not so sure now. I went for the obvious, but I was thinking about it the other day, and I changed my mind. I put my Arsenal 11 out the other day. But let's see what you boys think. Definitely Dennis Bergkamp for me.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to go Ian Wright. I'm going to go Ian Wright.
Can't argue. All right, fair enough. Reasons? Reasons?
I think I just feel Ian Wright when he played, he didn't have. I know Henry scored more goals and everything, but when Wrighty played, I don't think he had the service that Henry had. I just feel that, to me, if Ian Wright was in front of goal in Paris when we were 1-0 up, he would have put that chance away.
I knew you'd say that.
So I'm gonna go Bergkamp and Wright. Here we go. It's controversial, but here we go.
I mean, it's controversial, but it's a great pairing. What about yourself, Dan? You there, Dan?
Yeah.
You hear us?
Hear me?
Dan, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me or not?
We can hear you,
I'm back
Dan.
now.
We can hear you, Dan. We hear you, Dan.
Am I back? I don't know.
You're back.
100%. I'm 100% with Diesel. 100%. I have to put Ian Wright into my side. 100%.
Oh my
I can't
God.
leave him out.
This
Ian
is
Wright,
pressure.
100%
And do.
into my team. Him in support. Ian Wright is absolute goal machine. So it has to be Ian Wright. And of course, I've already put Bergkamp in my side. So I'm going to go with Thierry Henry so that all three of them are in my side. I can't leave any three of them out. They're the three best players that play for Arsenal. So how anyone can leave Ian Wright, Thierry Henry, and Dennis Bergkamp out?
It's hard, man. It's hard. You can't have all three, though, can you? We'll do two.
No. You go for a three in midfield with Bergkamp in number 10. And then we'll have the two legends that are Ian Wright and Thierry Henry up front. The biggest compliment I can give Thierry Henry is when he was playing football, playing against under 15s. You know, he was taking them around like they weren't there. One of the best players I've ever seen in Thierry Henry. One of the best strikers there's ever been, and of course our all-time top scorer. And when it comes to Dennis Bergkamp, I just think that he just saw everything before everyone else. His vision, his technical ability was outstanding. And I think that when he came, Merson said, Inter Milan must be brilliant, because if they're letting him go, then I don't want to play Inter Milan. That's how good he must be. So what some of the stuff he done with football, the best goal I've ever seen at Arsenal was scored by Dennis Bergkamp, which was the Newcastle goal. He also scored a great goal at Leicester against Leicester. So for me, those three are just everything about Arsenal Football Club. So to leave one of those out, I think it's criminal, boys. But you're going to have to, because you've all picked your four midfielders now. So good luck with that. I've put all three in.
Right, Lee. That's great pick, Dan. We've got 2 super chats. We've got one from Zane. Claude, you are annoyed Fabregas joined Barca, but how can you blame him when he could play alongside Messi and win trophies?
No, I wasn't annoyed that he left the Barca. I was annoyed the way he treated the club towards the end. When he failed to turn up, he didn't want to train. He refused to train. And when he's the captain of the side, going to Monaco Grand Prix. I know he wasn't. He should have been behind the team and been at Fulham. Was it the Fulham game? Fulham against Arsenal last game of the season. That's right, yeah. And he was at Monaco. So I've got no. Other than that, I didn't like the way he left. Don't like the way he said that I'll never join Chelsea, and he did. I'm still pissed off about that. That's all.
Yeah. And we've got another one from Chad who said Claude Henry was the best Premier League striker of all time.
Yeah, well, that could be disputed by a lot of. I don't think he didn't score as many goals as Shearer, did he?
Oh, well. Safe. Come on, Lee's one there.
No argument. I don't even know. Like, you know, listen. I'm a massive fan of Ian Wright. He's a lovely fella. You know, pleasure to have met him. Whatever, fantastic player. One of the best goal scorers. To be honest, when he left, I never thought we'd ever replace him. That's how good I felt he was. But along come a Frenchman in Thierry Henry, and he was just, you know, the best striker, not the best forward, but the best goal scorer, striker, whatever you want to say, that Premier League's ever had. Over Shearer, all-round better player than Shearer, not the goal scorer, but all-round better player. He was just awesome. I don't know how, you know what I mean? He could do, like, and I think Ian Wright would admit that Henry could do things that he couldn't do. He was just absolutely awesome, you know. Not my favourite player for Arsenal by a long way. I thought he was a little bit arrogant.
Maybe I'm going down the road. I think Wright was more. I think Henry had more talent in that goal scoring, but I thought Ian Wright was a more clinical striker. You know what?
I'd agree with that. No, I would agree with that. Yeah.
You know what you could have done? You could have actually put Henry, because he always used to drift wide, didn't he? So you could have put Henry wide and played right.
Yeah, but you didn't, Claude, did you? You put somebody else there, like, you know, so you can't change your mind now. Like. You've gone Ian Wright, and that's it, like that. Yeah, it's all out there. It's floating around all around the country now. You've gone Ian Wright, okay? That's it.
I'm just saying. I just feel Ian Wright. I thought if he had those players around him, I think he would have scored a lot.
Hey, no backtracking there, mate.
No.
Well, when Wrighty was playing, he had Hillier, and no disrespect to Hillier, he had Morrow, Jensen, and all players like that in the midfield, right? When Henry's playing, he's got Perez, he's got Bergkamp, Lundberg, all these players around him. It's a different, you know, it's hard to...
That's his fault then, is it? Is that his fault then, is it?
Well, no, it's not. I'm just saying.
I've got an answer to what Claude said. I've got an answer.
Hold up, Ken. We just got a super chat, Ken, just before it runs out, from Alexander. Love Wrighty, folks. Player of my generation, but wasn't in the same league as Henry. Henry was spectacular. Thank you very much for your contribution there.
And listen, I think that is, and that's not a criticism of Ian Wright by a long chalk. That ain't. That's just how absolutely outstanding that he was. Just an absolute outstanding player. And you know, like, I'm a massive fan of Ian Wright. You know what I mean? Absolutely love him to death as a footballer.
You boys don't love him as much as putting all 3 of them in. It's got to be putting all.
you Bergkamp one. It's as simple as that, Dan. Can't go back now.
No. So for me, and I can't believe we're arguing over it really, but like Thierry Henry and
I suppose you are.
And Dennis Bergkamp's got to be the other one for me. Dennis Bergkamp, you can't. I think the way Arsenal are now is the reason that Arsenal are the team they are now is because we signed Dennis Bergkamp.
You know what it is, Lee? If you look at on Twitter, I actually put Henry in front of Wright, but then I had a little think about it in the week about the players that they played with, and I balanced it out a bit. You know what I'm saying? I just don't. I'm not Go on, I'll let you have Henry and Bergkamp. I think
Yeah.
there we go.
Another super chat, Ken. Sorry, before we come to you again, mate. From Zane, he put, Lee, why do you think Ian Wright was overlooked for England?
Well, I think because obviously Shearer was there, and the unfortunate thing with Ian Wright and going into that sort of era of England, we had so many forwards. We had Robbie Fowler, we had Stan Collymore, Chris Sutton never really used to get a game. You know what I mean? Peter Beardsley may have been was in and around that sort of time there.
Well.
Ferdinand,
Even Andy Cole. Andy Cole,
Teddy Sheringham, all these players were there, you know, and I spoke to Kevin on this on many occasions because Kevin was in that era as well. He never got a cap for England because of all these guys in front that were there. There were so many good international footballers there. Do I think Ian Wright got a raw deal? I think he did until Glenn Hoddle come into the setup, and unfortunately he was just on the way down then. But you know, I loved Ian Wright's passion when he played for England. I loved him when he played for Arsenal. Alan Smith's another one that's much of an unsung hero as well. Like, you know, so yeah, I do. But he's not the only Arsenal player that's been given a little bit of a raw deal by England. If I'll be honest, we can go into that another time. But there's been a few Arsenal players that have been given raw deals by the national team. If I'll be honest, Ray Parlour being one of them.
Okay, sorry, we've got another couple of more super chats, Ken. You will get to your forwards, believe me. I think they're worried about you going to say paint and wall for some reason.
Paint the bills.
Chadwick's put, if Bergkamp wasn't afraid to fly in planes, Arsenal would have won the Champions League. It's a shame he had that phobia. I totally agree with that. You boys?
Yeah, so I think that's a great point.
Definitely. Great point. Yeah, definitely.
And Nick said, thank you, Nick. He said, love the new setup and the two legends on the show, Terry and Dan. Thank you, mate. That's very good.
Appreciate
that. Love you, Terry. I love you too, Terry.
Legend.
Now, two legends, Ken, and he's not Ron there. Go on then, Ken. Sorry, mate. Give us your two before another super chat comes in.
All right, I'm going to go really quickly. Claude, in counter to your point about Ian Wright, the way we played when Ian Wright came inside was designed for Ian Wright. So for you to say that he didn't have the players around him was actually wrong. He had the style which benefited him, which means we cut out the wingers. We didn't cut out the wingers, and basically the reason everything was designed Ian Wright, the ball over the top with the flick on, Ian Wright get in the box. That's how Ian Wright got all those goals, because we played for Ian Wright. If we were to play the football that we wanted to play, i.e. down the wings or play a measured approach, Ian Wright probably wouldn't have scored that many goals because he wouldn't suit his style. So George did cater for Ian Wright, and that's why Ian Wright.
I'm winding you all up. In terms of Favre-Boom,
I'm winding you all up. Thierry Henry, I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but Thierry Henry has to be the best player that we've ever had at Arsenal. Not only not because of what he's done, it's the fact that Thierry Henry has changed the way strikers play football now. If you look at the way, Rashford plays, that's all down to Thierry Henry. Because what Thierry Henry did, not only could he just put the ball in there, he could play left wing, right wing, and he could basically score goals from like distance. His goal against Spurs, you just remember that, where he just took it from the halfway line, went past, Ledley King, made him look stupid and put the goal in against Spurs. And there was other great goals. The goals against Man United from 20, 30 yards. The goal against Man City. Thierry Henry's got to be the best player around. Dennis Bergkamp, oh my God. He was one of those players that I thought, you know what? He's the only player I can see that can actually play as though he was in the sort of top tier of football of a crowd where you could actually see the pass. Because when we're in a crowd, we can see it everywhere. We can see man on. We can see the pass before the players see it. Dennis Bergkamp, you always thought that he had that sort of brain where he knew where his players were going to be. And I think Dennis Bergkamp, Henry, the best players that ever played at a football club, and then Ilian Bailey third, which just kind of bastardised what I did by leaving him out, which makes me feel sorry.
I'm winding you up. Actually, I'm winding you all up, mate. I'm winding you all up.
No. But as I said before,
I've done that before. Because I love Ian Wright, so I thought I'd give him a mention. Ian Wright's very unlucky. Yeah, but Claude, Ian Wright. I'm winding you all up. Of course,
Claude, it's nothing wrong with what you said because it's a good point. you can't leave Ian Wright out because of the goals he scored.
Actually,
he would get into a lot of best Arsenal teams, but it's just that it's just Henry's Henry, isn't he? And Bergkamp's Bergkamp, and it's just that Favre-Vum. How can you? What's the French for Favre-Vum?
Kenny, sorry, just quickly because the super chat's
I
going
will say about Henry.
Claude, 2 seconds.
Produced it.
Saying, Kenny, what about?
I mean, Wright produced it in cup finals, and Henry never. But that's another thing. Anyway, let's go on.
Yeah, Henry won his titles though, Claude.
Yeah, but I'm just saying on the Champions League final, he had a really he went missing that day. That was our big chance. He should have buried that. Who's this? What's that?
That's all right. It's Dan. He left for a second. We've got 2 super chats quickly to say. Zane said, Kenny, what about Will Todd? Wasn't he a great striker also?
He came to the football club. He came to the football club with a very big reputation. But I think what it was is that he was one of those players that Henry was in front of him, and it was just really hard for him. We expected probably too much of Will Todd. He's like most expensive signing when he came to the football club. But for me, I thought he was a bit of a disappointment. Very good with his back to goal, but in terms of the goal output, maybe if he was the main man, he probably would have got more goals than he did at the time. But made some great contributions, especially when we won the double. Who can forget his goal at Old Trafford?
Yeah. And we've got another one from Alexander. He put, I'll pick Carnu over Righty. Carnu was magical. I mean, for me, the 2 strikers, like people's been saying, we've had a lot of strikers to pick from and all. We had Righty, who I absolutely loved when I was growing up. And I do agree to a little bit with Claude, what he said, with who he was playing with. I mean, if you would have put Righty in the undefeated team, I think he would have done exactly the same as Henry. He would have scored a lot more goals. So, I mean, for that, he should get more credit as a striker. I just think also he interacted with the crowd brilliantly, Ian Wright. You know what I mean? Every game that I used to go and watch, he used to get the crowd up, crowd involved. He just thrived off it. I didn't put him in my team. I'm gutted because I do really love Righty. Also, Stan the Man, earlier on, he made a comment about Anelka. I do think it was an absolute shame that we sold him when we did, because I think he could have been phenomenal for us. I really do.
We didn't have a choice, Terry, though, did we? He was adamant that he wanted to leave the club. I think
where's Foxy gone? He's gone to Pot. Where is it?
He's got the Pot.
No, but I think what it is that his brothers were very much. It was always going to stay at Arsenal for 2 years, and I think his brothers Didier and Claude were very much involved and in control of his career. And, when Real Madrid made a reproach, it was always going to leave the football club. It's a shame, but that's how it is.
Yeah.
He was one of the. I suppose nowadays I think what it is for football fans is that sometimes we just have to get used to the fact that some footballers are not as passionate about our club as we are.
Yeah, no.
And Nicola wasn't passionate about Arsenal.
Yeah,
neither was Samir.
I totally agree with you. I mean, but I just thought I'd give you a mention because I do think if he would have stayed with us, he would have been absolutely phenomenal. But obviously, the ones that I'm going for, Thierry Henry. Hold up, just before I say that. Same's got another super chat. Why couldn't you play Wright, Dennis, and Thierry together? Ian Wright has Kane in his pocket. I definitely agree with that, Same. But no, for me, Thierry Henry, unbelievable player. Honestly, I absolutely loved watching him, and I don't think we appreciate how much that we had him at the time, if you know what I mean, because he was absolutely phenomenal. He was the only player that I can really say throughout Arsenal's history, well, that I, in my time of supporting Arsenal, he's the only man that could get the ball and win us a game. And I mean, we could be losing 2 or 3 goals down, and he would, he would pull his shorts up, his socks up, pull his t-shirt down, and he would get in there and he would go and win us the game, not just draw the game. He'd go and win the game, like he did against Liverpool that time. Absolutely phenomenal player. And obviously, Dennis Bergkamp. Dennis
I was only
Bergkamp.
joking. I'm joking.
His vision.
You cannot take a joke.
What was that, Claude? Sorry.
I was finding you all out all along. You know, it's all part of the fun.
Dennis Bergkamp
I
for
agree.
me.
I totally agree. We could actually drop Armstrong. I mean, I don't want to drop George Armstrong, but we could then put Henry and change.
Armstrong didn't get in, Claude.
He didn't get
He didn't get in here like that.
Rykoff's on the side.
What team you on, Claude?
Oh,
What team?
he did. Yeah, sorry. Who did we? Hold on. Who did we put on the other side? Perez.
Perez and
Perez
Rocastle.
and Rocastle.
Hey.
Perez and Rocastle, Vieira and Brady.
I mean Perez. Sorry, we could drop Perez.
No way.
No
way.
No way.
No. You've had your choices, Claude. We've got you got to go. You went Ian right. You know.
All right. All right.
Can you guys?
Yeah, can you?
No.
I'm going to get slaughtered. Or if I say one thing, I get slaughtered. If I say another thing, I get slaughtered. So I don't care. I listen. You win, boys. Right?
Thank you.
Henry and Bergkamp up front, and so the full team is.
Hold up. We've got Bergkamp. We're definitely picking, and we've got. Hold up. Bergkamp we've got, and we've definitely got. Not Ian Wright. Not Ian Wright.
We're looking up to the gods there, Tel, to see to get Henry down.
And we've got the man of the team, Thierry Henry.
All right. So put them all in the 11. Can you put them all in the 11? Put them all in.
Hold up a minute. This is the team that we've gone for, the top 11. And we can run through it again if you want, Claude. We've got David Seaman in goal. We've got Lee Dixon at right back, Sol Campbell and Tony Adams with Ashley Cole left back. We've got Robert Perez, Patrick Vieira, Liam Brady and David Rocastle in midfield. And the two up front is Dennis Bergkamp and Thierry Henry.
What a team.
Great team.
Sure.
Lee, where would we finish if we had that team?
Top of the league.
Top of the league. What, by miles, would you say?
But well, we win it by miles, we win the Champions League, the FA Cup, and runners up in the League Cup because we play a few reserves. There you go.
Oh, right. Now we've got to choose the manager. Now, this would be interesting.
Oh, right.
I'm going to go, and you're not going to like it, you boys, even. I'm going to go for George Graham.
George Graham.
All right, I'm going Arsene Wenger.
Yeah, I'm going Arsene Wenger as well. 100% Arsene Wenger.
Kenny?
Put the light on, Kenny. Ain't paid the bill, was he?
Can you hear us, Ken? No, I think he's
Kenny.
He can't hear us at the moment. Can you hear us, Ken?
I think he said Arsene Wenger.
No.
Yeah.
I'm going to go. I went for Graham, George Graham, for the manager. The boys, Lee, you went for?
Arsene Wenger, I went for.
Dan?
Yeah, Arsene Wenger, 100%, mate. I don't know if you boys can hear it.
Yeah. No, you said, yeah, we heard you, George Graham. Yeah, sorry.
I'm going with Arsene Wenger myself. Obviously,
good enough, Tel. Good enough.
I'm going with Wenger. Okay, it's the internet, isn't it?
Yeah, it's blanking out.
Problems,
Well,
YouTube.
you've got to explain why you've gone for Wenger, because I'm going to go for Graham, because I'll tell you why I'm going to go for Graham. Tactically, a better manager than Wenger. I don't care what anyone says. He had 8 years. He won 2 league titles. Wenger won 3, but he had 20 odd years to do that. Right, and also George didn't have the comfort of a lot of the players that Wenger had as well towards in that era. So I'm gonna go for George. I'm gonna go for George Graham. Kenny.
Listen, boys, I'm going to have to jump off in a minute because my takeaway's just come here. So,
Hello, guys.
my takeaway's just come, like, you know, so I'm going to have to jump off in a sec, yeah?
All right, mate.
Hello, guys.
Well,
Haven't you got a waitress to get the
not today, like, you know what I mean? So, always a takeaway on a Saturday, you know, come on, got to be in it, like, you know?
Can I just say, just before you go, Lee, it's been an absolute pleasure of having you on our new channel. Obviously, Claude's with us and all. And
Yeah, lovely. I've enjoyed it, so it's been good.
Let
definitely
Lee
hang on, Lee.
before he goes off, let Lee explain why he would rather have Wenger in charge. I would rather have.
Oh, right, yeah. I just think that I'm going to say that George Graham, like, it's a tough choice. George Graham, when I first started watching Arsenal, I never thought we'd ever win the league. But George Graham gave me that opportunity, gave me that dream, and he was a fantastic manager. But I just think that from 98 to 2004, 2005, we was just like not only winning trophies, which was just absolutely awesome football as well. And I don't think that should ever be forgotten. I also think that when he was put under the pressure of the new stadium and getting us into the top four, he done fantastically well to do that. The last 3 years of Arsene Wenger were very, very tarnished, but also the worst ever team that I've supported following Arsenal was in George Graham's last season. And I'm not going to forget that. And, you know, so that is the reason why I will go with Arsene Wenger.
Well, this lot lately ain't.
And also, Arsene Wenger never managed Spurs. There you go. I'm going to say
well, another reason I was going to go for George Graham, because tactically he pulled off the greatest result in European football.
Yeah, fantastic.
One of the top sides at the time in the European game in Parma. Look at what he done with that team he pulled out. If Wenger would have gone there, we would have lost about 4-5-1, mate. The tactics he done with that team he had to beat Parma and win that European trophy was outstanding.
Yeah,
right.
You can argue it. Right, listen, lads, I've got to jump off. Like, yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Like, yeah. So,
yeah. What you having anyway?
I've got chicken tikka today. Bit of Indian, like, you know. So,
Nice.
all right.
Well,
Save some food for me, Lee.
Do you want to have a look at one of my poppadoms or something? Like,
Are you too lazy to cook now? Then are you too lazy to cook?
Only on a Saturday, it's takeaway day. You know what I mean? So,
Lee, don't forget to wash
Michelle anyway. No, Michelle.
Say that again, so sorry.
I said, don't forget to wash your hands when you take the delivery.
No, that's right.
Exactly.
Just about to go and wash my hands now, like, you know what I mean? So,
No,
listen, stay
hands
safe, everybody. A bit of a great show.
Thank you very much for coming on,
Take
mate.
care,
Look
Lee.
forward to coming on again soon. See you later, on, boys.
Thanks for coming on, mate.
No worries, Claude boy. Talk to you soon.
Cheers, mate.
We've got a super chat here from Warren. He said, I would have had Keown instead of Sol Campbell.
Where's Dan gone?
I don't. His internet keeps playing up at the moment, so it's he keeps jumping in and out.
Kenny, where do you stand on this? I'm going to go for Wenger.
Can you hear me, guys?
I'm going to go for Graham. I'm going to go for George Graham.
Okay, cool.
Hey, guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, go on, Ken.
Can you hear me? Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
go on, Ken.
Yeah, basically,
Yes, Kenny.
in terms of like a manager, I have to go for George because tactically he's better than Arsene Wenger. But in terms of like the football, if you want better football, then obviously you're going to go for Arsene in his prime. But all-round coach, I'm going for George.
Yeah. Okay, for me, what, like you said, Claude, what George Graham done that night at Anfield was absolutely unbelievable. I mean, to go there at the time when Liverpool were dominating the league, and the team that they had under Kenny Dalglish and all was unbelievable what he done. We was written off as a team, even going up there. But for me, I've got to go with Arsene Wenger. I mean, in the first sort of 10 years, he was unbelievable. Let's be honest, he was unbelievable. He changed our team around completely. The players that he got in, we didn't really know them. Vieira, Petit, you know what I mean? We never heard of these guys, Anelka. and look what he done with them in the first, in his first 10 years of buying these players. My only downside to Arsene Wenger is that obviously when we went that season unbeaten, he should have went above and beyond with us, like Alex Ferguson would have done with Man United. That is when, for me, Wenger started to go on the down slope.
Yeah, but I think Arsenal's decline started with the 50th game against Man United, Pizzagate. I think that's when we became soft Arsenal. And I think teams had a formula to sort of beat us in terms of like putting the foot in and getting our players sort of wound up. And then when we lost Patrick to Juventus, we became Barcelona because obviously he wanted to build a side around a very excellent Cesc Fabregas, which was very well intentioned, but we became sort of Barcelona without the sort of work rate. And I think that's where I think we weren't ready to actually dominate teams. So our work rate got against us. And let's not forget that Mourinho went and he had a kind of a formula, not just to, like I said, see out the competition, which was us, the Invincibles, but also a formula in order to dominate the league. And for 2 years, Chelsea had that formula until Man United came. We had Ronaldo and Rooney, where they built a side around those two players. So I think it became sort of difficult. But one thing you have to be critical of Arsene is that he didn't respond to the competition. He didn't respond to the Mourinho side against Chelsea. He didn't respond to the fact that Fergie rebuilt the side around Ronaldo and Rooney. And I think that's where a lot of Arsenal fans became frustrated with Wenger and where they began to question whether he could do it at the highest level.
Yeah,
I think that's for me, you know what I mean?
Just a super chat here from Daniel, the blind Gooner. Everyone go and subscribe to his channel. He's a fantastic bloke. And he's put, evening lads, hope you're all well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. He's gone again. Dan, you keep disappearing, mate. Now, before you go on, also, I'm going to ask every one of you in there, would Wenger have pulled that strategy off at Anfield in '89? Not a chance in hell, mate. No. Would he have done that? And
I think what's happened is that it depends on the situation. It's one of those things where he wasn't a pragmatic coach, and he would have just gone there to try and outscore Liverpool. But in terms of what we had players of character then. Adams had character. Remember, he played a back three of Bold, Adams, and Leary, all leaders in their own right. You had someone like Kevin Richardson who already won the league with Everton. So if you look at that sort of thing, George had the characters. Would Arsene do? We probably not. But Arsene did have in the great years, he did have characters in there who could have pulled it off. He could have. The Arsene great sides had Adams in it still. He had Dixon, he had Vieira as well, where they would have gone to somewhere like on one goes. Remember, Arsene's team went to Old Trafford and won as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that team also went to Tottenham and won. So in terms of Arsene, that sort of respect,
that Liverpool side was special.
100%.
Kenny, that Liverpool side was special, mate.
Oh, I'm sweet. They had great players. Houghton, Rush, Dalglish, Aldridge was still playing for them. Grobbelaar in goal. Hudson was playing. That team was like this year before played excellent football to win the league at Cantor the season before, and we weren't the favourites, but we always kind of had that sort of Indian rubber sign over them, especially in that season where we could match them toe for toe, and we only team, I suppose, who had the balls to actually go there and believe that we could do something, and we actually played it quite well. We made sure we kept a clean sheet in the first half. In the second half, we timed it perfection, get an early goal, make Liverpool nervous, and then get them on the back foot, which we did.
There's Gooner Eagle Eye. Everyone knows Chig. I know he puts up great content on YouTube. Follow this guy, man. Really good content he puts up. Thanks for that. He says, "Hope you're all well. Great show." Thank you very much, Chig. Yeah. Well, it's a great show. If Chig,
hi Dan, you all right, mate? You all right, mate?
Yeah. Can you hear me, boys, or not?
Yeah. What manager would you pick, Dan?
It's got to be Arsene Wenger for me, mate. George Graham was fantastic when I was growing up. Sensational what he did in '89, brilliant in '91, and obviously against Parma in '94. But for me, Arsene Wenger changed British football when he came in terms of the diets and what he did with how we transformed that side. Where we were going absolutely nowhere, in my opinion. So for me, he got us all fitter. He made us compete with Man United, which was a great side, by the way. One of the best managers ever in Sir Alex Ferguson. So Arsene Wenger for me, 100%. And we've got everything to thank him for now, for what we've won, moving us into the Emirates. So I know Claude's going to disagree and say for George Graham, and I understand why he's going to go George Graham.
No. I'm disagreeing with you on the point about changing the diets. The diets were changed before Wenger arrived. Let's get all this straight, that he changed all the diets in football. The diets were changed before Wenger.
Who changed the diets then?
No, all over Europe, managers were changing diet. He wasn't the first.
No, you're right. You're right. But Claude, what I'm saying is he was ahead of the time. He was the one doing it before all the other managers in the Premier League were. So that's why we were a lot fitter than everyone else in '98.
In the Premier League, but he wasn't the first. A lot of it's coming out as he's the first one in
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Oh, right, but what he did was in the Premier League we were. I think that was why we were so fitter than everyone else by the end of it. Because in the Premier League, we were just ahead of it. And that's how we managed to compete with Man United and beat them. So, for me, Arsene Wenger just ahead of George Graham. But again, I was 92, 93. So, I've had Wenger for the most part of my time supporting Arsenal. So, I have to go with Arsene Wenger ahead of George Graham. But I don't really because I've lost my internet. So, I don't know what the arguments were. So, I've missed some of this now.
Dan, can I ask you a question, Dan?
Fair point. You know what I would like to do?
Claude, hold up. Let Kenny just finish off. Go on, Ken. Sorry, Claude.
I think Dan, I think he makes some fantastic points. But one of my biggest bugbears with Arsene is that when Arsene didn't have the players, and when we needed him to kind of build a side to respond to Jose Mourinho's Chelsea, to respond to the fact that Sir Alex has built another great side with Ronaldo and Wayne Rooney, it's where I felt Arsene let himself down. That he wasn't able to build a side. I know people want to say that there was the money situation at the Emirates in terms of us moving the stadium. We had the debt, but it's one of those things where great managers build teams, and I think with Arsene, he built a very good side in from 1998 up towards probably 2004. But it's afterwards when we lost these players, and when Wellington actually did go to Barcelona, where I think that money, for me, it wasn't about him not having money. It was whether he was able to get us to that level where we can compete with Chelsea and Man United.
But you know my answer to that, Ken? My answer to that, Ken, is we went downhill when David Dean left, mate, and Arsene Wenger lost his right-hand man, and unfortunately, he was never replaced. And I don't think he was backed. I don't think we were given the opportunities to go and spend the money that Chelsea and City were. So obviously we were getting trumped at the top. And he made some massive mistakes, Arsene Wenger. There's no denying the fact that he made some huge mistakes. And I'm not a Arsene Wenger, guru. I love the guy for what he done at Arsenal, and I'll always respect him. But I think he had 10 years at the club where he did get to making too many mistakes. But that's why I've gone for Arsene Wenger over George, because I fell in love with Arsene Wenger sides more than I did George Graham sides because of my era of football. So,
listen, boys, Richard made a good point here. As you know, we're forgetting about one great manager, and that's Bruce Rioch. If it weren't for him, then we wouldn't have got Dennis Bergkamp, boys. Let's be honest.
Many people argue that David Dean got that deal done, but having said that, Bergkamp did like Rioch, by the way. He did like him.
Yeah, but he did. Bruce did is that Bruce kind of settled things down. Obviously, we had the turmoil of George Graham having to lose his job. And what Bruce was, he was a safe pair of hands until we got someone else. Remember, Bruce didn't sign his contract, which basically helped him get out the door. And that smooth transition between George Graham getting fired, and Bruce, getting us to 5th place in the league. That gave us that sort of like small foundations, a bit of confidence back. So we were prepared for Arsene coming to the club.
Right, boys.
They used him because they knew they were waiting for Wenger for a year. They used him. They knew what they were doing. But he brought. I tell you what he did. He did bring a bit of discipline to the team as well, Real. So
Yeah.
I've not got that. Remember, they didn't finish badly either. They finished, was it fifth or fourth? They finished.
No, we finished fifth.
That year.
Fifth. And like,
Yeah, so that, I mean, really didn't do a bad job. Qualified for Europe on the last day. That's when the UEFA Cup meant something. The European, but it didn't. It don't mean nothing now. The Euro.
Claude, he played good football as well, Bruce, as well.
Yeah.
Well, he had a lot of respect. Merson gave him a lot of respect. I remember Merson was very respectful.
Well, the only person who fell out.
I know there are.
Mate, Ian Wright.
Yeah. Right, boys, we've been going for over an hour.
Yeah, exactly. So, shall we say? Let's. I think we should say it's a joint managers. That would be even better because actually, if you put the two together,
big egos.
Well, what we can let's quickly. What we do is we'll just quickly run through our best 11 again. What we're pitched, boys, and that is we had Dave Seaman in goal. We've got Lee Dixon, Sol Campbell, Tony Adams, and Ashley Cole as our defenders. In midfield, we've got Robert Perez, Patrick Vieira, Liam Brady, and David Rocastle. And the two main guys up front is Dennis Bergkamp and Thierry Henry. That is our Arsenal 11. We've got a couple.
I'm still gutted we've not got Ian Wright. I'm still gutted we've not got Ian Wright.
There's a few players in there, to be honest.
It's a hard one,
Dan, that have missed that.
Ian Wright's a great player for us, isn't he? He's probably one of the best finishers you're ever going to see in football. But I don't know, mate. It's a compliment the fact that we've had some great years at Arsenal, isn't it? That we can't.
It is.
Well, I've got a couple of shout out boys. I just want to shout out Tom at the Gooner Talk. He's got on Friday at 7 p.m. He's doing a Gooner Talk NHS Premier League quiz. He's got a GoFundMe page for all the NHS people. So if anyone's free on Friday, go over to that. And he's got a quiz going Friday. Also, I want to give a big shout out to my guest tonight. Well, our guest tonight, mine and Claude. We had Lee Judges, who's left us now to go and have his Indian, which is nice of him. Do you know what I mean? Didn't share it out. Also, we've got Dan. Dan, shout out your channel, mate. Thanks for coming on and all. Give a shout out to your channel.
Boys, thanks very much. First of all, always a pleasure coming on a podcast with you, Kenny Ken. You know, I think a lot of you, mate. And Terry, well done for this. Cheers, mate. Terry, thanks for running this, mate. It's fantastic as a host. And Claude, huge thanks for having me on, mate. I really appreciate your time and letting me come on to here. I'm on the same old Arsenal with Lee Judges and Harry and Craig, who runs it, as well as Graham and Mark. My Twitter's at DanArsenal87 if anyone wants to give me a follow, or if not, then follow at same old AFC. And I'm also on Guns and Yellow Ribbons podcast quite a lot as well. So both those podcasts I feature on. But thank you very much for having me on, you three. It's been brilliant. I've really enjoyed it.
No, thank you very much for coming on, Dan. Really appreciate it. And it's the first time I've seen you and met you in person. So been a pleasure, mate.
Cheers,
Kenny
mate.
Ken. Kenny Ken, it's the first time I think we haven't had a row.
No, not at all. I think we kind of disagreed about we actually agreed on the Potato and Vieira.
Yeah.
You know, it's good. It's always good to have different. You know, it's always a pleasure to be in your show as well. And you know, we met on another show that we cannot mention. But this new venture, I wish you all the best of British Light. Any help you need, just ask. And if I'm available, I'll do anything to help your show get off the front. I'll promote it. I'll appear on it. Anything that help your show. The same with Arsenal's a show that I've got a soft spot with as well. And I think, you know, there's some really good YouTube shows out there. And, you know, you're actually, inadvertently, you're actually lighting in our mood and you're giving us a lot of some things to do, a lot of entertainment. So, you know, to put your time out, especially when you're stressed out because what's happening with coronavirus, you know, that's probably your jobs. But to, you know, put that to one side and try and entertain us. So I've got nothing but love and respect for all of you. You, Dan, you, Tel, you, Claude. Thanks for having me on.
Dan, let's not forget to mention that show tomorrow night. A very important show.
Yeah, we've got a mental health show tomorrow night, and we've got what's the guest? I'm trying to get it up. It's Alex da Silva. We've got Alex da Silva, a life coach, coming on and giving you a talk about mental health and tactics you can use to, you know, not get into the depression and things like that, especially in the hard times that we're in at the moment with this virus that's going around.
Brilliant.
So yeah, please come and join us tomorrow at 7 o'clock. That should be a great show. Anyone out there that's struggling or just needs to talk, just come on, just chat to us. Be open. We're all friendly enough. You know, it's an hard time for everyone. So please just come along and watch us at 7 tomorrow. Everyone, please go and subscribe to our Claude and the Banter's Instagram page, Facebook page, Twitter and YouTube pages. And I hope you enjoyed the show tonight, lads. And everyone in the comments, thank you for your contribution. I know it's been brilliant.
So all we've got to say now, it's time to go!
It's time to go.
Right,
Cheers,
see ya.
guys.
Thank you very much. See ya.